Alright, today we're going to do some data scraping, and this is a site my friend sent me, and how I'm going to do it. Um, the first thing I, first thing I do is to go to inspect and see if the content is actually from the HTML page itself. In this case, I already know it is right here. Alright, see all the details we want in Chinese. And usually I will go to network tab to see if there's any objects uh, loading. That means the data are not actually loaded at the same time as the HTML loaded. To do that, we have to refresh the page on the network tab to see any special XHR fetch here. And I see none, so that probably means the HTML page itself contains all the data. It's quite usual if we go back to a usual technique to do data scraping is to see the document where it is loaded from and the actual request that is sent out to request the data. So in order to do that, we go ahead and copy the request as a CURL. So if go ahead, use a terminal if you're on Linux or on Mac. You can probably do that on Windows as well, but I don't know how. I never own a Windows machine. If you paste that in, it will actually give you the same thing as you see in the source code. Oh, but by the way, right now the terminal is returning some weird code to us because it's not understanding Chinese. I'm gonna deal with that later on in this video. But let me just go ahead. We see there are a lot of pages on this website. Actually, what, 13,000 and more. So what we need to know is how this page are actually turned. Let me open up something. Text comparison online. This is a very useful tool. I usually use that to see how's the command of what is the request different from one another. So you see right now we are on page page 1, and let's go to page 3. We do the same thing on page 3 to see if the actual request details are the same. Usually they are not the same because the data are not the same, right? They can't be same. So go ahead, reload this. We see the same document. All other stuff are just, JS script, GIF, images, and PNG style sheet. They have nothing to do with the actual data. So we go ahead and copy this CURL from page 3 and put it under the second tab here, and to see if there's any difference. Oh, good. We see, okay, a lot of those things are different, but we don't need to care about all those. Something interesting when you look through all the difference. By the way, the highlighted text are the difference between two requests. I actually spot out earlier that there's an argument saying page data equals to 3, and this one equals to 1. that is a very big hint for us to tell what are the ways to request different pages of data from this website. I assume that is the way, and I did that. So what I did earlier was actually download the first 10 pages of the website data and store it into a text file. How do we do that? First thing, let me clean up this. Remember when we paste up the command and what... No, wait a second. The first thing we need to do is to somehow save this into a text file so we can access that later on. The way to do it is after your command and use your greater than sign on the keyboard, and then save it wherever. Wait a second. Let me change my directory. Okay. Let me go to desktop first. Desktop. Wait a second. Wait. Okay. I assume you guys watching knows what I'm doing. That is, I'm changing the directory. Oh, wrong stuff. Desktop. Now we're on desktop, and you see all the crabs on the desktop. But what we want to do is paste all the command. Paste the command we had before. Add a space, greater than sign, and testing.txt. So what you're gonna see is the computer is actually downloading all the data for us and put it into this testing.text file. So if we go back out to desktop, we see testing.text. But look at those titles. They're weird. They're not Chinese. So in order to make those back into Chinese, what we need is another piece of command. That is, before we put it into testing.text, we need to sort of pipe it into some sort of translator, translating those non-UTF-8 code into UTF-8 code, which supports Chinese. The command to do that, by the way, I have it somewhere. If I have it, okay, never mind. Let me find it for you. Dropbox. I put it into programming notes. To code, you use write. So that's the command we need. That's my programming note I did earlier to just remember what command to use in order for us to get those translations. So adding up this pipe, which means take the result from the previous command into the next command, that is text utilities, and somehow with those flags translated into Chinese compatible files and save it into testing.text document. I press enter, and it's gonna take a little bit longer because it's doing the translation thing. And yeah, it takes longer than I expect. I would like, but it will work. Before I record a video, I already done tens of those. Of course, not manually. I wrote a script to do the looping, so we can do 10 or however many you want at a time. The way to do it is by writing a shell script. That is actually fairly short. They're just 10 lines of code. Writing that shell script, it's basically a for loop from 1 to 10, every time we change the page number, in this case we are calling it counter. So every time it requests the URL, it's going to take a different page number, which is at the very end. Right here, we change the page number into counter number, and then when we save the text file, we save it as page plus your page number, which basically dynamically generate text file for us. So let me see. Right, you see now we are done here for the command we just did. And if we go back and look at testing.txt, we now have all the Chinese back, nice and clean. And if you want to see the end result, no, not OBS. If you go back and see what I did previously in this folder, we have all the first 10 pages of the website's data from here. Of course, you can go more than 10 pages. All you need to do is change the counter here, 10, from 10 to however many pages you want. And that's all for this video. I hope it makes sense for you, and make sure you know this is a really cool program to have. Wait, let me show it to you. CURL, and it's a program that helps you to do requests. So instead of doing Python and all those stuff, sometimes it's just easier to use CURL. Alright, I'll just end the video here.